instead. Yeah.
You played a show last night, sold out, and now we've got you here for this announcement.
I mean, can you get it all? The stars are aligned, you know?
Absolutely.
It's good.
Did you get a little sleep?
A little bit, yeah.
And the show went off last night, I'm assuming, without any hitches.
That was all good.
All the toilets were flushing perfectly.
Apparently.
Good stuff. Suzanne, can we kick off with you and your enthusiasm for why you wanted to see this musical come to Australia?
I think it fits here. I think Brian's music is just, it's a cracking night in the theatre. Like, it's normally music that you only get to hear when he comes to the country. And so we get to do that 8 times a week for this fantastic story. It's the iconic, quintessential rom-com. Like, who doesn't remember that bit? And when he climbs and rescues her right back, she rescues him right back, all of those sorts of things, and I just fell in love with it. I had the best night in the theatre, as did all the other people in the theatre with me.
That's really kind.
Yeah.
Where did you see it?
At the West End.
Okay.
It was awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I just saw it recently in Belfast.
Oh, did you have a good night?
What's that?
Did you have a good night?
Well, to be quite honest, it's I think it's the best production of it that I've seen.
Oh, that's raising the bar for you.
Even over Broadway, I would say that it was much better. The whole thing, I think it's evolved.
I feel like the Brits, they're like the Canadians and the Australians, I think, are quite similar in their senses of humour, and the Brits are a bit like that too. And I think the Brits brought that kind of English, sort of tongue-in-cheek kind of sense of humour back into it.
Well, I don't want to comment beyond that.
Let's have a look at the trailer just to give everybody a bit of an idea of what they may expect.
I didn't write this song.
Welcome to Hollywood! What's your dream?
This rumour about the fact that in 2007 you identified this would make a great musical, and you started talking about it back then, almost 20 years ago?
Well, it's very interesting you should say that, because with us today here is my friend Victoria Hyde. And she's come up here, Victoria. She's actually here working on Sister Act, and she's the associate choreographer. And it was her, this lady here, that told me it was a good idea. Someone should make Pretty Woman a musical. And it was 2007, 2008. Yeah, and so after that I thought, well, that is a really good idea. So, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Victoria.
This is Victoria. She's Victoria.
And you're here in Brisbane too, I mean, seriously, Stars and Moons.
I know, I can't believe it. The stars really have aligned. I've been here all week working on Sister Act.
Which is brilliant,
Eric.
by the way.
Yes. And yes, go and see it. And Brian was like, I'm doing a press conference with Pretty Woman, you've got to come. I went to see the show last night and it was just like perfect timing, so here I am.
Well, thank you, Victoria.
No problem.
A little added extra for us this morning. Brian, so you obviously you must have some sort of tenacious bone in your body. If in 2007 you say, I want to do this, first you got knocked back, but you must have kept chipping away.
Well, because at the time, I don't think Disney wanted to do the story, you know, billionaire meets hooker. It wasn't in the Me Too, you know, thing. And even when we were making it, we were worried about that association. And in fact, even in the promotion of the original the musical back in 2018, there were all the, you know, her amazing outfit and with the high boots and that. You won't find a photograph of it because they wanted to play down the image of her as a hooker. And I thought, but I'm not even supposed to use the word hooker.
It's all right, you're in Queensland. Rules don't apply.
But you know, that is a story, and it's what I thought was interesting, and what Jim, my co-writer, thought was interesting. But of course, when it came out, it was in the middle of the Me Too movement, so it wasn't the best story for the time.
Sure, but I think, you know, I'd like to think we've reached a maturity where we can tell stories and we can accept there are parts of
100%.
culture in our life and who we are as people,
That's
and
right.
be able to do that in a way that's both respectful and progresses a conversation.
Well, and in fact, look at the most recent Oscars that have come out, the nomination for Best Picture with Honora, which is a similar story of a stripper meeting a Russian billionaire. And there's even dialogue in the picture that's the same as Pretty Woman.
So you wrote this with Jim Valance, your songwriting partner,
Correct.
and I don't want to suggest that writing songs is easy, but I was interested to see that you actually wrote more than what was needed for the show.
Well, yeah, that's kind of the process with most projects. I mean, whether it's writing an album or writing, in this case, the musical, it needed to have a lot of ideas fleshed out to find out, you know, what was, because the difference between writing songs for, say, myself and an album and writing for a musical is the story has to be told very much on the nose on each song, where in rock music you can be more metaphoric, you can write, you know, metaphor is a big thing in you know, pop songwriting, but not in Broadway.
Is it the first time, or one of the first times, that there's been an opportunity for someone like yourself? And given that you sit in that period of time when this movie was huge, you know, it's like the rock music of the 90s, which just obviously suits you so perfectly. You then recorded this soundtrack as an album, and then it's been obviously sung by other people all across the globe now on stage, and will be here as well. That's a bit of a unique proposition.
Well, I wanted to put a version of the songs from my perspective and how I envisioned them, quite simply, because the way the orchestration ended up on the musical was quite elaborate,
Yeah.
and it works. However, I wanted to bring the songs down to their true, simplest form, and so I did an album of the songs to highlight that.
Before we get a little bit further into what it's going to look like for us in Australia, Suzanne, Brian, what was it like for you the first time to see the show come to life?
Well, I can remember the first time when I went into rehearsal on Broadway, and suddenly I saw one of the songs come to life, you know, in front of me. I watched Jerry Mitchell do the choreography to one song. You know, within an hour, he had everybody dancing and singing, and I was floored by it. And it's a really exciting thing to see it come together.
Yeah.
And I watched that progression happen over the course of a year or so. And during that course of the year, I figured out that there were other things that we could do to write things that could end up being choreographed to you know, help move the story along. So yeah, it was you know, and that's why I wanted to do it, because it was a way of learning another craft in the craft you already know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Great, yeah, I can only imagine how satisfying that must be for you as a creative to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Suzanne, now to you and to bringing it to not only Australia but to QPAC first. How are you wrapping your head around this? And are you excited about the fact that I'm sure after knowing that this was going to be happening for a while, you now have the relief of being able to talk about it as much as you want?
Oh, couldn't agree more. I'm terrible at keeping secrets. And so I had to be quiet and not say anything to anybody, which is not my strong point. So I think it's really exciting. I think it's really exciting to bring something like this with music by this remarkable icon to Brisbane first. I think Australia is a very big country, and Melbourne and Sydney get a heap of stuff, but I think Brisbane is this really great secret the rest of the country haven't worked out yet. They don't know the incredible amount of opportunity that exists in this state and this city to bring these things here. We'll get sort of 80,000 people from all over the country coming to see this, experiencing your city. We'll move outside the walls of the theatre, which is one of my kind of personal things about art and about theatre. It's very easy for the rest of the community to just tell us to get a real job. My view is that the live entertainment industry is worth $35.6 billion to this country. That's more than sport. Yeah.
Can I just say something also?
Yeah.
there isn't a West End here in Australia. So I think for the musical theatre community that exists in this country, it's nice to see productions come and you know, tour, because there's a lot of really talented people here.
Absolutely.
So.
And I think the other thing with a story like this, and I know that everybody in this room will appreciate, you will be able to appeal to 3 generations to come and see a show like Pretty Woman. Just given the time it was and where we've all sort of moved in our life, you will see 3 generations that will be able to come along and see this show together.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the great parts of the show. It's really accessible, and it feels, it's kind of like, it's a terrible way to describe the show, it's kind of like a War Maker that you know what the outcome is, but you have this excitement to see it.
Will you have all of the iconic moments happen on stage? Because we all know when they happen.
You bet. We're building a bath, people. We're building a bath. Huge. Yeah, all of the things.
How do you also then, Suzanne, make sure that there is just something about it that is unique for the audience here that might be a little different to the way that it's been seen in Belfast or in London?
I think Australians have a particular sense of humour, and we have a particular approach to life. And I think because we'll cast it full of Australians, that kind of sensibility will come through. So while the show is the show, and it is exactly what you would see on West End or Belfast or anywhere else, actually across 4 continents and seen by a couple of million people, it will have our kind of quirky, tongue-in-cheek in it. I'm not sure how you put it to words, to tell you the truth, but you all know what I mean.
These iconic roles, Brian, that are, you know, obviously we know Julia Roberts and Richard Gere as Vivian and Edward. The casting of this, I'm sure, is as important as all of the other aspects. How have you seen the Vivians and the Edwards in the shows so far?
How do you mean, how have I seen them?
You know, have they been true to the character? Is it difficult to sort of see that transcend, particularly for people who know and love the movie so well?
I think that if you're going to get that role, you have to be able to make it work. And I haven't seen a Vivian that hasn't made it work yet. Yeah.
We're in the casting process now.
So it must be a huge thing for whoever gets up these roles in Australia.
It's massive. I've sat in the audition space a couple of times over the last weeks, and we will audition in March. So auditions are announced today. But it's pretty amazing sitting there listening to them sing these songs, but also this dialogue that you just flash back to being, 4, because I was 4 when the movie was there. Not saying age, but it's really kind of weird to sit there and listen to this amazing writing across the thing and see it come to life. We are going to, I think we've found our Vivian, and but we're still looking for our Edward. And we're looking for the rest of the
Don't look at me.
What did you say?
Brian, are you going to come back when the show starts in October? Can we, maybe get a bit of an exclusive to say Brian Adams will return to Brisbane for the opening night?
I'd like to. I think that the autumn is pretty booked out for me already. I'm going to have a tour across Canada and America starting in September, October, and November. So
maybe not this time.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not going to rule it out for next time.
It is so lovely that you have been able to be here with us for this announcement
Oh,
today.
thank you.
And I think it just adds to the excitement for us as the city, for Suzanne as the producer who's now got all the work ahead of her to make sure that it happens,
Good luck with
but
that.
also for us here. What do you think is probably the biggest takeaway for what the audiences are going to expect when they see Pretty Woman on stage here?
They're gonna really enjoy it. It's fun, and it's got a great storyline. And I think that Jim and I cracked it for the music as well. What can I say? Yeah, come to it. You'll love it.
And Suzanne?
I would say exactly the same thing. You'll have a cracking night in the theatre, and you will watch her rescue him right back.
And I guess also the rest of us are tasked with making sure that not only are those seats full come every night that the show is on, but that the rest of the city also benefits from the fact that we have had this wonderful opportunity presented to us. So thank you both.
Thanks. Nice to
Thanks
meet
for
you.
having us.